Hi, so my name is Andre Koen, and in this presentation, you'll probably learn more about me than you want to know. I also would like it if you have, anyone have a smartphone? If anyone have a smartphone? If you can get your smartphone out, because you may want to use it in this particular workshop. So above the workshop is a URL that you can go to. Just go to your web browser, type that in. If you have questions or comments that you may want to ask, and you don't want to interrupt the flow, or you may be embarrassed about a question or term that you're using, and feel free to ask the question at a particular space. I'll see it right here, and I can address it as we're uh, going through the program. This isn't even magical. It's Google Slides, so most of you probably have access to it if you can use that for particularly when you work with youth. And I particularly like it when I'm working with younger people because it gives them an excuse to check their Facebook while right? So they don't feel guilty about that. So there's that. So currently I am I'm a diversity consultant and do lots of racial equity work in government organizations and nonprofits where I specialize. I was the affirmative action officer for Noble County for 8 years. I taught high school and middle school for 7 years, and I currently I've nested in Bethel University, where I teach educational equity. So focusing on how do we close the achievement gap, primarily with African Americans, people with disabilities, and American Indians. So spend the bulk of our time in that. So, so I hand out the worksheets and all that kind of stuff in just a second. But as much as I have my agenda and I have a direction in which I'd like to take, I'd like to hear from you in terms of what are some of your hopes, given the fact that we'll be spending from now until noon, kind of talking about implicit bias. So what are some things you were hoping that we might talk about or address in terms of implicit bias and its impact on health equity? What were some of your hopes?
The rural areas have a more challenge. Other
More of a challenge. Okay. Go right ahead. Okay. They don't even know.
They don't even know
They
it.
don't even know.
How do I?
So one thing that's perfectly correct, but we have to say, is it all working for itself, or is there at what point was the community?
Yeah. Yeah. Is this self work or is this organization? So how do I impact systems? Things we're hoping we would talk about, we'd like to talk about, with you guys.
Is there a way to how to bring in somebody who does have bias? Is there a way how to go for that?
Okay. Yes, yes.
there a bad time to call myself out?
Is there a bad time to call myself out for bias? We'll talk about that. A bad time. Are cool. Are there any things that you were hoping we would not talk about? My brain is going to explode. I do not want to talk about this. Dave is chuckling big time. What's at the top of your list, Dave? I don't know. No? No? Yeah, no, that's fine. So are there some things that you feel like you've heard 1,000 times and what you need to learn? Repetition is good. All right.
I chuckle because it is a little bit of what sometimes you do run into those individuals in systems that say, "Oh, here we go, not again, not this discussion." So I don't want to do this.
So and the interesting thing is, being a high school teacher, for as long as I was a high school teacher, I learned a trick. There's a trick I learned as a teacher, and it's called stalling. So the principal was that we have this new initiative going, and we want everyone to be on board with this. We're going to roll this thing out, and I said, "Great, I'm with you." And I just waited out. Because you know what happened last year? They had another great initiative. We're gonna focus, and this is gonna be a great initiative, and we're gonna get those. Because I also know that next year, what we're gonna have next year, some great new initiative or 2-year, what. So what I would ask you is not do that. So like lean into this process because I did it. I know what it looks like, right? So what I'd like you to lean into this process and actually think about ways that we can be actionable. So one of the things that, and I'm going to write this down. So hopefully everybody has a piece of paper and pencil. Let's say implicit bias. Importantly, I want to talk about cognitive control. What do I do with this stuff, right? So we'll kind of peel away this implicit bias. But ultimately, what I want to get to is how do you have cognitive control? Way to think about cognitive control. Is there anyone here that is what about snakes? Anybody around snakes? Cool. So if a snake came into this room, what is your natural reaction to respond to that? You'd be on the table, you'd be out the door, right? So let's say that the commissioner of health is in the room. I don't care, right? We're to at least try to keep it together. Right? Yeah. We're trying to keep it together. Bee in the car. Anybody had a bee in your car? Right? Hate it. What do you focus on? Driving, right? So you have this bee that can sting you at any moment. You're like, ah! You are in cognitive control. So that's where we're heading. And if we can find ways to talk about how to become in cognitive control. So a couple of questions I kind of shuffled as we thinking about how this workshop is going to kind of roll out. Because one of the questions was, if a person has bias, we all have it. I did think it was interesting, and this isn't a part of my thing, but you guys touched on it so well that I'm going to piggyback on it. So, you just talked a lot about balance. You talked about balance. And you want to remember the iceberg theory, culture, sociology 101, kind of stuff like that, right? And how does the iceberg theory of culture work? Or iceberg theory of stuff? How does that work? We only see a portion of it, right? And the portion that we see is what? 10%, right? 20%. But it's relatively small compared to the part that we don't see. I hate that part. Absolutely hate it. Because it's not us, it's not human beings. We are not icebergs. But we are organic. And so one of the things that I thought was interesting, you just talked about values. And so the model that I like to use is that of a carrot. The carrot of culture. And there's things you should see. And so when we talk about values, so what are the things that you can see? You can see actions, right? We call those artifacts. So although you have values, what are the artifacts that other people can see that demonstrate your values? Right? Demonstrate your values. I use the job as an example of really talking about this, right? So anyone seen a woman in a job? Right? Really great fashion statements. Really great fashion statements. But are they more than fashion statements? Yes, it is a statement of values. So as you're thinking about those values, I was wondering to myself, how do those values manifest themselves so that other people can see them as artifacts? But we'll talk about that because sometimes the artifacts are implicit bias. Sometimes the artifacts are, in fact, micro inequities. Right? And we'll kind of talk about some of those things. And so when we think about the metaphor that I like to use is very culture, because if these artifacts get disconnected, or I can't see the artifacts, do I know where those values are? Can I necessarily find the values? So can anybody else outside of me define where those values are? And I would say no. So it becomes important to recognize that there is a symbiotic relationship between the artifacts and values. Artifacts reinforce values, values reinforce artifacts. So that's why many people don't buy Rosette. Are you familiar with Rosettes? Isn't it a lot easier to go to Aldi and get them than to actually make them? Right? But they don't do that because then it's reinforces that artifact, reinforces values. So let's get going. So a couple of years ago, I met a dude and I interviewed this dude, and he had some really cool stuff to say. So I'm going to play an interview with you. Incredible as I did. So I think these curves are so small, and I'm over 40, so pardon me if I don't quite see it. Here.
Let me tell you how I got into healthcare. So I read Michael Harrington's book, The Other America, back in 1962 when I was in high school. And it said there were 40 to 50 million people in this country that were really not benefiting from the American dream, poor and people of color. And that really struck me. And when I read that book, and then I realized over the next several years that John Kennedy also had read that book, and he developed this war on poverty. He started it, and Lyndon Johnson carried it on. And it was making huge difference in communities, particularly communities of color. And that resonated with me because where I grew up, we didn't have any people of color. And I was really interested in what was going on throughout the states, and seeing the changes that were making, knowing that this world was much bigger than what I was seeing in my little hometown. So that sort of just stuck. When I was 8 years old, the Green Bay Packer game, and that's when I saw the first African American in my life, and his name was Bobby Mann. He was a running back for the Green Bay Packers. First African American I'd ever seen. And I asked my dad about that as we were walking home, and he said, yeah, he can only come into town during football season. And he then needs to leave when the season is done. And he can't live in town, he has to live on the outskirts of town. And I reflected to my dad, that doesn't seem fair. And my dad said, no, that isn't fair. So I'm hoping that your generation actually does something about that. So that was the seminal point where I had to really think about, oh, there's some expectations that my generation maybe can do something to make things better for a lot of people. So that was certainly one experience. But certainly as I became Commissioner of Health, and we started asking folks around the state what creates health, and recognizing that many populations, particularly of color and American Indians, from all the benefits of the state, really became clear that we needed to really address health equity in a really proactive way. Just looking at the data, looking at the pain that people are under, looking at the situations that people don't really have any opportunities to be healthy. They're in situations where they're really refrained from benefiting from all of the things in our state. We've been working with, even before I became health commissioner, we were really working with communities about how to create health and how to deal with disparities. But becoming health commissioner gave me a platform to really take it to a different level and get some visibility on this issue. So we developed the Advancing Health Equity Report, which identified the fact that disparities are a huge problem in the state, and that they're really not about care and personal choices. It's really about the socio-political climate, the socio-economic climate that people are in. So we said, if we're going to really be a healthy state, we've got the best medical care system in the country. We really overall are a very healthy state. We have these huge disparities, and as our population is changing, unless we really address those disparities, we will not be able to maintain our status as a healthy state. So in order to do that, we have to deal with the issue that most people don't want to talk about is race, and the disparities we have in race, and the lack of opportunities that people of color and American Indians, because of some of the policies that are in place that have been put there many, many years ago, but are impacting them negatively. And so we decided that that's where we would lead. We would lead with the discussion about race as one way of getting at all of the policies and the systems that benefit whites at the expense of people of color and American Indians. Well, certainly with the Central Corridor light rail, they did not pay attention to the people in the middle of that line, particularly people of color in the middle of the line, and low-income folks, where there are no stops. And really to see the community come forward and say, you know, we're being disadvantaged by that policy that says you have to move people as rapidly as possible. You're paying attention to only one criterion. That's the efficiency of it. You're not paying attention to the population needs. And so with their advocacy and their organizing and their really creating a movement, they were able to get 3 stops. Not only that, they actually changed federal policy on how to evaluate transportation things like the Central Corridor light rail. It really reflected more of communities coming together to address policies that really disadvantage some. Income is a huge issue. So we developed a report on income and health. And from our studies, it really showed that if you increase somebody's income from the lowest 20% up into the next category, you actually could increase their life expectancy by about 3.5 years. That little bit of investment at the low income level is really, really important. that says that we have to take an approach that is broader than what we traditionally have done in the health department. So we're taking now at the health department a health and all policies approach, where we really say we need to partner with transportation and housing and economic development and corrections as a team to create the conditions in which people can be healthy, but do it with a health lens. How does it actually improve health? And with a health equity lens, how does it reduce disparities and how does it advance health equity? You know, the Department of Transportation is building a road. How can we make sure that everybody in the community can benefit, that it actually enhances health as opposed to detracting from health? How does it build the capacity of those communities, build the opportunities in those communities, those opportunities for health? Because we know that if everybody benefits, as Paul Wellstone said, everybody benefits. And we know from the data that if we can reduce the income inequality, everybody's going to get healthier, even people at the top. So with Indeed and economic development, right, look at economic development through that equity lens and that disparity lens, I think we're going to have a really healthier state. And it'll be because everybody's doing it together. And a lot of it's personal stories that I've learned, that I'm learning from a conference that I'm going at, and some of my reflections on that. And I recognize that when I tell a story that reflects about something I'm doing, people often open up and are willing to share a little bit about what they're doing, or they reflect on the same kind of thing from a little different angle. You need to be open, a little vulnerable to sharing a little bit about your personal story, and people will share back.
All right, so any thoughts, comments, observations? I'm sure you've heard this. So the question then becomes, what can we do to help mitigate those critical disparities? I would also submit that I think are very similar in terms of how they show up with low income. There's mirroring things that happen, particularly around low income individuals, particularly in rural communities that are very similar to people of color in urban. Let's get started. So if you just pass up. What I'd like to do, if you could, I'd like for you to open up the handbook and go to page 2. Go to page 2. We'll come back to page 2 to talk about this in a second. Let's go to page 2. What I want you to do very quickly. So on page 2, what I'd like you to do is view 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 gray circles. 5 gray circles. What I want you to do is I want you to write down one thing that is important to you or of value to you in each one of those circles. All right? So what's one thing that's of value to you that you can place in each one of those circles? So you have 5 things. So it could be the person, it could be other, grandchild, present, cycle, or jet ski. It could be a place like Bemidji or Belize. It could be a concept like freedom, justice. Right? One thing that you value in each one of those circles. So you have 5 things. Word association. So, association. Not all 5, so we'll continue. is just play a game. And the game is very simple. What I want you to do is I want you to find two people who either value what you value, so you have the same things on your papers, or you have similar things on your papers. And so once you found those individuals who either have something similar to what you have or actually have the same thing you have, I want them to next to the things that they that you have in common. All right. So you'll I'd like you to do 2 signatures for each one of your, a minimum of 2 signatures for each one of your circles, which means you'll have a minimum of how many signatures? Do that. Game over. All right, please tally up your signatures. Tally up your signatures. More than a person signed more than what counts as an additional signature. So if you have duplicates, that counts. So just count up your signatures. All right. So was anyone able to get 5 signatures? Please raise your hand if you have 5 signatures. Okay, cool. 7 signatures. All right. 8 signatures. All right, cool. How many over 10 were people able to get? How many? You got 12. Okay, you get 12. 11. All right. Anyone get more than 12? All right, cool. Let's give those guys a hand. Woohoo! They're winners. They're messing up the curve for the rest of us. So as you were walking around the room, were there things that you saw in other people's papers and you were like, man, why didn't I think of that? I should have wrote that down. Right? What were those things? Honesty. Health. All right. What else? Peace. So there's
Kindness.
kindness. Cool, cool.
Pets.
Pets. Pets.
Justice.
What's that? Friends.
Justice.
Justice. Freedom. As you were also walking around the room, were there some things that were more difficult, or you didn't actually get anybody to sign on one of yours? Yeah. What was one of those? Please raise your hand if you value balance. You didn't write it down or don't have it. You value. Yes, right in the back. Raise your hand if you value beauty, even if it wasn't written on your paper. If you value it, even though it was presumed. All right. Yes. One more. Heritage. So if you value your heritage, or you like to borrow from someone else's heritage, that's a value. All right, great. So what do you think is the obvious moral to this activity, or the lesson? We have more common than you think. What else?
Everything that we value that doesn't come out right away. Then on a top 5 list, we still
There's still things that we value that might not come out. So, what else? You know someone in 90 seconds, but you did a pretty good job. So this is one thing I want you to reprogram, right? So how many people have been to a diversity training? All right, how about a cultural competence training? All right, now I'm going to go way back. Anyone been to a sensitivity training? All right, yeah, right. So I've been to all of those, and so because those exist, I have to heal you first. So one of the things that we have to recognize and understand is that diversity, we need a new way to talk about diversity, right? Because in rural counties like Goodhue or Rice County, they're having to talk about diversity in different ways than we do say in Ramsey County or in Henry County, like with your standard, right? And so there's some different ways we have to talk about it. So we need to have words that use. So this is what I would like to offer. I'd like to submit this to you as a way to think about diversity in a much richer way. A way that can actually provide us opportunities to relate to one another and become action. And that is that diversity is the accounting and the recognition of our commonalities and our differences. For too long and too often have I been to trainings where they focus on one or the other. We are all alike, rah, kumbaya, right? Or we are so different. We need to accept those differences. When in fact, the truth is, commonality. That's why and how we're able to sign on other people's papers, right? Because we have commonality and we have those. And oftentimes that's what doesn't get recognized. It's the complexity of us being human beings. So that's it. So I just want to check something really quickly. Because I've done this activity a number of times, and so I just want to check my hypothesis just to see if it holds true for you. So when I asked you to write things down, you wrote down what? What did you write down? 5 things that are important or valuable to you, right? That's what I asked you. Right? So I asked some follow-up questions. How many people put their ethnicity or their race as one of those 5 things that they value? Please raise your hand if you put that. All right. So again, 1.5 hands. So I got a total of 1 hand, another half in the back. But the majority of us did not, right? All right, cool. So next question. How many of you put your gender or gender identity or gender expression as one of those 5 things that you value. All right, so last question. This one I want you to wave your hand in the air and wave it like you don't care. Did anyone put their social economic status or tax bracket as one of those things? Okay, nobody did. So why is it? Why was our race or ethnicity as a whole? Why did we not do that as a group? Why did we not do that? Why did we not do it gender identity, gender expression? Why did our social economic status not in those 5 circles? So we treat each other with respect, okay? Well, that's more important, Lori. I don't want to hear what you talk about. Right? Yes. That's what you are. That's not what you value. I go to a step further and say, those are some things that kind of things that I would have looked down in circles. I value more than I value those other things. And that's for me. I'd like to let you off the hook, right? So I don't want you to, have to walk away in a money ball, so to speak. The reason those things that you didn't write those things down for most of us is because we value those other things more. But I will tell you that there are systems that certainly value my race, my gender, my social group. So I'm probably the most unlikely person to actually be standing in front of you, given the statistics, what the data say about what I was supposed to be and who I was supposed to be. So I was in Head Start as a kid. I sit on the board of Head Start now, right? And so the first day, going to the meeting, I call my mom, because that's what I do when I have something exciting. To this day, I call my mom. So I call my mom and I tell her about this program, and I said, yeah, we're here to really help poor people, right? This program is designed to help poor kids get out of this and give my hand up and all this kind of stuff. And she starts laughing, right? And my mother starts laughing, and she says, boy, you were in Head Start. Like, we were that poor, right? She went to school, we met on the class. She did what people, what parents told me. And so, a lot of times we don't recognize that there are these systems in place. As a health practitioner, our job is to help us human beings outside of what the checkpoint says in our lives. So, I was born in Dayton, Ohio. There were 3 categories of race at that time: black, white, and other. I was born, the nurse looked at me, she looked at my parents, she looked at her list, she looked at me, she looked at my parents, and what do you think she's like? Yeah, obviously, right? Yeah. But here was the thing that always confused me. What was I? I was born human, but America made me black. It set a paradigm on me, much like I think you addressed just a little while ago, that those are things that you are, but that's so now. Right? So I am black not because I chose it, because I'm just an American. Right? If I was in Haiti, I would be different. If I was on the Dominican Republic side of the island as opposed to the Haiti side of the island, same island, but I would be different. Right? So that's important. So that there are things that you're able to sign on other people's papers. So let's look at that larger circle. And let's call that larger circle the circle of knowledge. Okay, all right. It's a little maniacal, right? So let's bring it down a bit. Let's look at the circle of the power. All right? So everything that can be known in the human existence is contained in that circle. Everything that can be known is contained in that circle. So, what I'd like you to do is cut yourself a piece of pie the size of what you know of everything there is to know. Cut yourself a piece of pie the size of what you know of everything there is to know. So what are some examples of things that you know? 3 examples. You know that the sun will come up tomorrow.
I know how to play.
You know how to
Quilt.
you know how to quilt. One more. That's it. It's the right. So what I want you to do now is I want you to cut the second piece of pie. And the second piece of pie is quantifiable. Some people might say, well, that's just the rest of the time. But I want you to suggest, and you just play along, that you'll see the second piece of pie. And this is the size of what you know you do not know. Things that you don't know. So, for example, I know that I do not know Mandarin Chinese. I also know that I don't know how to fly an airplane. I also have I should not do lobotomy. So, your second piece of pie, decide no, no. So we have what we know, we have what we know we don't know. And what are some examples of things that you know you don't know? You know you don't know how to sing. Please raise your hand if you also know you don't know how to sing. All right. What is it, Koen? All right, another. Out of curiosity, please raise your hand if you also know you don't know how to sing. All right, one last thing. Physics, right? Quantum physics, particle acceleration physics. So if you know you don't know any of those kinds of physics, then okay, cool. Right? So we have what we know, we have what we know we don't know. And so what do you think is left over? What's the rest of the pie? What you don't know, you don't know. It says, recognize space and blind spot. In what state of blind spot? It's a trick question. You don't know what's in your blind spot, right? So another way to look at this, so it's so funny, I did this one time. Somebody said, hey, you got that not love spell. I said, you can use it for evil or for good. Another way to think about this is know what you know you don't know in your blind spot, is to think about it in terms of a paradigm. P-A-R-A-D-I-G-M. I used to say paradigm. I was wrong on phonics. It works for me. So paradigm. And what is a paradigm? Obviously. You've had experience with paradigm shift. What is a paradigm? It's the way of looking at the world, right? So the way you see, and the way you see the world will dictate what it is that you see. The way you see the world will dictate what you see. And whose primary job was it to introduce you to your first set of paradigms? Your parents, your family, those people who raised you, right? Now, where did they get their paradigm? From their parents, right? And where did they get their paradigm? From their parents. So a paradigm is a gift that keeps on giving. Good or bad, right? Now, what is the problem with the majority of this gift that keeps giving, keeps multiplying? It may not necessarily be relevant. It may continues the same blind spots. So do we have implicit bias? Yes. Why? Because it was given to us. It was given to us. The other way to think about this implicit bias, is there any way to avoid passing this down to another individual? No. Why? Because A, you don't know what you don't know, but I can't know everything. That would make me God. So another way to think about this is being human. Not knowing stuff is a part of our human existence. You can't know everything. But I am responsible for what I do know. And we're trying to expand this all the time. We're trying to limit that blind spot. We're trying to boldly go where no one has gone before. All right, so when we talk about this idea of blind spot, it's a natural thing. However, it may not be our fault, but it is our responsibility. Right? Have a car? Does that car have a blind spot? Did you make it? No, you didn't create that blind spot. But you take responsibility for that blind spot as you move throughout the world. Right? So one of the ways that our paradigm of blind spots kind of manifests is in this idea of we have this illusion of knowledge, right? Illusion of knowledge. So if you go back to the front page, go back to the front page. And what I'd like to do is I'd like you to draw a bicycle. So go right to your cover and just draw a bicycle. Just draw a bicycle. A lot of self-talk. This is terrible. I don't like. All right. So, we're drawing at this. Show your drawing.
Oh, that's nice.
Question. So I this is brief kind of bikes were. And anyone have a bike that's similar to this in some way, shape, or form? Okay, cool. Anyone have a bike similar to this? All right. Is there another configuration that I might be missing? Anyone have a bike like this? Sort of, kind of. This is what you were doing. So obviously, which of these bikes would be functional? What's the problem with this bike? It's got no pedals, right? So that's one thing. What else? It's got, okay, so what else? What else is missing? So obviously, folks, on all of them, you guys get to know. What's the problem with the bike? I can't steer. This one can't steer. Right? This one has petals, pretty accurate, the most accurate. Right? So why do we have some difficulty drawing people? Because we're not like we can't even with that. No artistic ability, but you see it like every day. How do zippers work? Anyone ever use a zipper? How do they work? You really know. If you anyone, so you have smartphones, right? You know how your smartphones work, right? So all the pieces were scattered on the table. Could you put your phone back together and have no, because we have the illusion of knowledge. One of the ways that implicit bias acts is we act as if we really know stuff, when in fact we don't. Someone asked me a very interesting question. They said, Andre, what happens if you take a drop of water and you put it in a vacuum? I said, what happens? Guess what my response was? I don't know, because I've never dropped a drop of water in a vacuum. Right? I know what people told me is supposed to happen, right? But I don't really know myself. So we have this, which creates these implicit bias. We also recognize that our paradigm that we get from our parents, our family, and our friends, the gospel truth comes from them until we learn that we all have blind spots. In a number of ways that we interact with the world, that we try to, because we know that the nail that sticks up is the one that gets whacked, right? So we try to conform so that we don't stick out. Why do kids sag their pants? Because other kids sag their pants, right? We also have this idea of selective attention and selective attention pays attention to what is important, and I block out what is not important. Ever purchased a new car? What happens once you purchase that new car? You see it everywhere. Is it the chicken or the egg? So selective attention. And we also have bias. We all have bias. And we have bias because we all come from a time. It drives how we see the world. And it's only natural. We're only human. So let's go to turn to page 3, which is really quick. And for many of you, this is, I'm trying to kind of do just a run how the implicit brain works, right? So the reptilian brain, oftentimes, the reptilian brain is the primary function part of the brain, right? So basic, not even instinctual kinds of survival or blinking and necessary functions all happen in that brain. But what happens with when your brain becomes an implicit brain is that the reptilian brain hijacks the prefrontal cortex. It takes over and says, you are now in danger or jeopardy. It hijacks all of that, so we're not thinking. And so we go back to whatever this primal brain is saying. Typically, it is looking for mates and it's looking for danger, right? If you get a dangerous mate, the brain is really active. So that's the foundation for these implicit bias. So we know what explicit bias is, right? I don't like those people because of a lot of things that we can say to other people. We demonstrate and see it in forms of segregation or in other forms of inequities. We can see those explicit biases kind of played out. And I said bias is useful. How is it or why is it that bias would be or could be used? What does bias do in terms of our decision? When I just respond to them, right? But how can those responses be problematic when they're out of the context, when we don't say that the context matters, right? So if I'm out in the savannah and I hear that, the context, the notes that I have to be mindful of. But if I you see the relation where they have a, if I go to that Bible museum, the problem is, right? So, our paradigm is also a way of looking at the world. And so, historically, we've had some things that have really shaped implicit bias, or things that we haven't been aware of, but we should be aware of. And that's like historical trauma, historical racism, poverty, and this concept of whiteness. And whiteness is problematic. Why is whiteness problematic? Anyone heard that concept of whiteness? Why is it problematic? Because there's no universal definition. Why else is it problematic? How does whiteness work? Like, what makes it work? White people agree about being poor. So a lot of rules and laws are being made from this idea of whiteness, right? And what was it? Because it's interesting, because there was a time when the Irish weren't white. Armenians weren't white. But something happened. What happened? So whiteness became, we're going to include all of those folks. Because what whiteness says is that all white people are created equal. And we know that's not true if we listen to white people. White people call white people who don't live up to the level of sophistication that most white people think that they should. Trash, call them rednecks, right? Our people we call Hoosiers. Right? Even that, so that whiteness is separating people from the human. The same for the other color codings that we have, separates us from the human family. And so ultimately, what is it that we want? You got to turn to page 7. I thought I had 7 heads when I said it. I told them that I understand the alt-right neo-Nazi. My students were like, what? I said, yes, I understand it. I did not say I agree with them. I did say I understand them. So what are the alt-right neo-Nazis trying to get? And people don't have advantages in our socio-economic systems. Drugs is a way to relieve my pain. What are they seeking by self-medicine? Dang! Safety significance is alone. Why do we go to work every day? And so the motivation of human beings, what implicit bias says, is that they have something different than I do, where I don't recognize that they are striving for safety significance of the law. And so when we start peeling back these implicit bias, we have the opportunity to recognize that we have more alike than we are this subject. So on page 7, we talk about that. If you go to page 8, which is also known as page 6. So one of the things that separates us from our animal counterparts is the concept that we have metacognition. We are Homo sapiens sapiens. We have self-awareness. What's that? We are aware that we. Implicit bias is the lack of awareness about what we. So it's actually antithetical to being Homo sapiens. The ones who know that they know they exist. And so how do we find these so-called metacognition? So there are three ways that we have to do this. So first of all, we have to have cognitive awareness. I have to recognize that there are other ways of thinking than just my way of thinking. There are other ways of thinking and behaving other than just my way. And although my way has worked for me in my context, it may not necessarily be the same for someone else in a different context. I found it interesting that early in American history came to save, right? So the Native Americans helped those settlers who came to save the Indians, right? Why? Because those early settlers were not prepared. Right? So is that so let's do this the second way. You never close your eyes, you know, like Peter Brady, you know, when it's time to change. Right? So which of those had business? The first part or the second? The second, right? So what is cognitive dissonance? No harmony, right? So mentally, I have to recognize that there is a way that I see the world, and then there's a way that the world actually is, and that there may be a space between those two things, which is where cognitive dissonance lives. It says that the world, there may be concepts and ways of being that are out here, but I think they're like this. To wrestle with that cognitive dissonance. Try to understand. You are ultimately responsible for these blind spots. And so the blind spots in your car, how do you find them? What kind of tools do you use? Okay. She's got fancy stuff.
I'm going to turn my head. Yeah.
So you have to turn your head and look. Yeah, that's how I do it too, right? Or adjust my ears. When I get a rental car, I know it has blind spots, but to know exactly where they are, I have to do what? I have to look for it. Right? So here's the interesting thing about implicit bias. You won't know what it is, where it is. That's the only way that you find it. That metacognition tool says, what about my because this is really that people who are doing control never question their evidence. They just interpret. The people who love to have a great experience in life, I'm fall apart. One is wrong. This is the effect where incompetent people are so incompetent that they can't recognize their incompetence. They're being incompetent, but they act competent enough to do the thing that they're incompetent in doing. You might just right. So ultimately, when we start talking about this idea of this bias, it's really piercing that. It really comes down to recognizing the things that you have control over. And my grandmother would always say, because I was the boss, I'm the oldest, once I learned, the oldest grandchild, and I was boss. My grandmother would say, only thing you run are your shoes. Right? So I ultimately have to be responsible for me. I also remember in the 70s there was a show called the Flip Wilson Show. He was familiar with the Flip Wilson show, right? So in the 70s and 80s, late 70s and 80s, a hit show on television, we had to have catchphrases. Like catchphrases is what made shows, right? So like different strokes, you might remember that show. What was the catchphrase? What you talking about with it? Yeah, she hit it too at the same time, right? And then Good Times. Anybody remember? So the Flip Wilson show, Flip Wilson would dress up, he was kind of like the 70s version of Medea. Anybody seen those Medea movies? So he would dress up and do his comic. And Geraldine was saying, so she would get into these antics, kind of like Lucille Ball, right? But then when she was confronted, she would, they would say, well, why did you do that, Geraldine? And Geraldine would say, because the devil made me do it. Right? That was her little. So every episode ended with like, you know, if he was for whatever reason thought that was really fun. I don't like being a puppet of the devil, but you know, you're really enjoying it, right? So when I talk about implicit bias, and we don't talk about cognitive control, ultimately what are we saying? That the devil made it. Right? And how many of, for your family, for your parents would have accepted that as a legitimate answer to one of their inquiries? Not very far at all, right? And my dad was a pastor. He's like, we're casting that out, right? Never made me, right? So implicit bias, you can't let that stay because we all have these blind spots. And they're not our fault, but they are our responsibility. And we have to constantly question, talk, face other human beings in very simple ways to actually be able to curb this segment of bias. There are a number of tests that one can take, like the implicit attitudes test at AIT at Harvard, so if you want to write that down. Also, I can give you the slides. Some of the concepts that we talked about. But I want you to recognize that context sets the stage for our implicit bias. We can't stay in our implicit bias. We have to look at how to control it, right? And so in the case of a sick coming in the room, what might be some strategies we can employ so that our fear and our anxiety does not keep us from producing good work? What are some strategies we can employ? We can keep it in a cage, right? So we'll send somebody to find resources in this room. What kind of resources in this room can we find to capture or contain that? So now a bias or something that we have. And so when we start talking about this stuff around race relations and all this kind of stuff, the only way to undo or expose that implicit bias is to be exposed and look at your own stuff as it relates to your parents. Whatever it's taught about your parents. On page 7, there's a graph that is for your own perusal. And the simple question at letter A on page 7 is, what do the people on the left teach you about those categories across the top? Whether positive, negative, or never had that conversation. And so typically what I have people do is self-assessment. Something on the left, put a plus in the corresponding box. If you learn something negative, put a negative in the corresponding box. If there was never anything that you had talked about or those groups had talked with you about, put a 0. In the same box But the size of the plus, the size of your minus, usually conversation. At letter D, here's a kind of a step-by-step approach to have. So I know that I'm going on a trip, so I start preparing myself. I have a thing with traffic. I hate traffic. But if I prepare myself and I know what time I'm leaving, then I can do things that can help me get through traffic. I can get in the ocean. So that's what if it's too bad, I pull off and I go get in the ocean. It all depends on my mechanism that I use to kind of get myself through traffic. The next is this idea of cognitive awareness. There is cognitive dissonance. There are just some things I'm not going to have control over. And I am going to make mistakes. I'm going to fall in the mud. And what's the problem with falling in the mud? Staying. Right? So cognitive maturity says there are things that I can do. And then lastly, is this idea of metacognition and cognitive control. So will you get rid of all of your implicit bias? I was just going to say no. But what I would say is that you can control that particular stuff. My name's Andre. I want to thank you so much for your time. Have a good day.
We have lunch over here, and we're just gonna eat at our own tables. We'll call you back. So please enjoy. Great, thank you.
I did see that there are some questions, so I'll try to answer those as a pull-up.
Nice job.
Oh, thank you.
That was
Thank you.
helpful. I wish we would have had more.
Yeah, it was. I was looking at the. I was like, oh, I didn't get it.
And we were a little late when we started too, so.
Let's see, where are. Oh, good.
So you just kept talking and then you got there.
Oh,
So it's
good,
okay.
good,
So one
good,
about-
good.
That one right there you can ignore.
Yeah.
It's page 7 and 8. Got
Good,
it.
good, good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That was good. I'm glad I didn't raise my hand. From the piece of the pie, when you went through the no, don't know, and the blind spot, I'm like, but what about the piece of the pie of what I think I know, but I really don't know it,
Yeah.
but I think I know, which is, I think, where a lot of bias sits with people, putting the stereotypes on.
And assumptions about the world and about themselves, and because to be quite honest, I know what I'm supposed to do when I get set on fire, but I don't know what I really would do if I was set on
Yeah.
fire, because I've never been set on fire.
Yeah.
Right. So, so those are some important things to recognize. But one thing we did talk about a lot.
Well, there are blind spots that as we're, have gotten more aware of that, we've gotten past the sensitivity and the acceptances. We try to limit our blind spots. We try and do things so that we don't have such a big blind spot now that we, think of my grandma. She was 100% Norwegian. Her birthday was on St. Patrick's Day and she hated it because she was not very many generations from coming to this country. So she was Lutheran Norwegian. And in the same town, the Irish Catholics lived, and you just would think they were just the most awful people in the world because the Norwegian and her couldn't, get along with the Irish.
And the funny thing is, her mitochondrial DNA would not support this idea, this mathematical equation that we have about being 100% anything.
Yes, and that she had an Irish birthday. She didn't want anything St. Patrick's Day related. So, from a young age when she would start talking about it, I'm like, they're just the same. They're the same as you. You're just this little community of 1,500 people. They're really no different. They go to a different church, but to her, it was the Irish and they're Catholic, and she was Lutheran. And so I knew, like, I'd be like, oh, she'd go on her after, but I never, I mean, I'm sure some of it probably fed into some bias at some age, but from an age I kind of made a decision. I'm like, I don't believe in what you're saying, so I feel like I'm making my blind spots smaller.
Yeah. I would suggest different.
Okay, what would you say? How would you say?
We always have, I mean, we will always have blind spots.
Oh, I'm not saying I don't have any blind spots,
No.
but mine is smaller than what hers would be.
In that, maybe in that area there, because, you know, the way I like to think of it is that we keep spinning the style, because there's tons of things that my parents knew about my grandmother, but they forgot to tell me about those things about my grandmother. So I have a different perspective on my grandmother.
I just realized I had
than
even that
because they didn't tell me everything,
Okay.
you know? So
So it might be the same amount, but it kind of turns.
it
like
may,
it might be
turn
different
maybe,
topic.
or things get added to it, right? So my parents could have never taught me about text because it didn't exist. So there's constantly these things that get introduced to our paradigm. So it's contextual. So, you know, it may be smaller in one area, but larger or different in another area.
Okay.
It's a moving target.
Really nice.
Because the other
I
thing,
think they're like,
if you don't, then you become what you
and
are.
it's not that have a lot.
This is my worldview. This is how it is. Nothing else is outside of that because this is all I know. And this is all I have the energy and the attention to be able to deal with.
And I think it's
But I don't know how I would do that.
and working to provide different things to do. Things are shifting. Kind of always have the same thing like
I know, but that was kind of managed.
Well, actually, I think most
I don't
people
know
have
Yeah,
that
those
it's not that
kind
it
of
necessarily
shoulders
ever
under their
shrinks
Okay.
because knowledge is constantly expanding. And so I because that would suggest a destination. Like I'm trying to shrink it so it doesn't exist. And that might not necessarily be the best
I'll take that on.
in development. So my job is to adapt to the content. And I need to change with it, right?
Okay.
So just like resilience, right? So I would imagine that your grandmother or your great grandmother had a particular name that they used for resilience, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. They may even have an understanding that that's not right to do today.
Yeah.
But still have an inclination to use it, right? So conversation of it being right or wrong isn't helpful to the conversation. What's helpful is letting them know what the context is, and then they can make some decisions about what they want to do. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, we didn't have enough time to really get into this stuff.
This, like, consulting or do you like full sessions?
Yes, no, it's so.
Like expanding sessions open to the public?
Yep.
Like that?
No. And this is one thing. If you can get me a room on Rice County, I'll be there.
Okay.
Audience or whatever, we can make it happen
Okay.
to come out here. So.
Yeah, nice meeting you.
So I have a question. My job is to keep you here until somebody comes with a camera. So we have
Oh.
but in the meantime, so where are some resources for? So like one of my implicit biases is whenever somebody says doctor, in my head always white male, and all of my doctors are female. And have been for decades. I have friends who are female doctors, and still, when somebody says doctor, I assume they're going to go on and say he. So that's something I'm really aware of, and I switch it I do try in my head to do that, but that's only one I'm aware of. And I think, are there like I've done the IT and some of those things, but I know there's so much more. Are there other tools that are a little more, maybe a little more sophisticated?
Yeah. So right now, I would suggest no. And the other thing I would also offer you is that the only place I would suggest is probably looking at how we're results or mindfulness, because again, implicit bias is a lack. So if we're able to be more conscious of our thoughts, our attitudes, and our behaviors, then we can minimize those implicit biases. Again, it is my opinion that we will always have them.
So what about,
But my challenge is to be mindful of what those what they possibly are, and the scope of how maybe help me interact with other people. So yeah, so if there was any tool, it would be around looking at mindfulness as a combatant to implicit bias, because there's not even a whole lot of conversation around cognitive control, right? And I like the bee analogy and the snake analogy, because in a professional workplace, I still have to function and give my best, even if I have conscious or unconscious fears.
in the area.
I think this is my fourth year.
My daughter-in-law.
Okay, so I may have been in my class.
He might have been,
Yeah. So oh, that's wonderful. Wonderful. Small world.
Phone, your camera phone. Phyllis wanted pictures.
Oh, okay, yes.
And I was like,